Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us for our second Careers of Tomorrow workshop. We're really glad to have you here with us today. We're just going to give a few moments for people to start connecting. They should be starting to see that notification ring on YouTube and Facebook, letting them know that we're live. So we'll just give a few moments and get everyone connected, and then we can kick off this exciting presentation. Great. We're starting to see our numbers jump, which is awesome. Again, everyone, thank you so much. Welcome. Perfect. So we're going to kick things off in just about 20 seconds or so. Let people join. All right. All right, we'll get things kicking off. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second Careers of Tomorrow workshop. My name is Amy. I am our webinar programs manager at ApplyBoard, and it is my absolute pleasure to be your host here today for this session. We have some fantastic content lined up for you, but you have to listen to me and some housekeeping remarks before we kick things off. So we do have some time at the end of today's workshop for questions. So please keep them coming through. Just type them in the comments throughout the session, and we will get to as many as we can before we wrap up today. And without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you who we'll be hearing from today and the topic. So we do have Dr. Kesh joining us today. He is a professor of computer information systems and analytics at the University of Central Missouri, and he is bringing us fantastic information all about AI and deep learning. So we're excited to have Dr. Kesh joining us today. I'm going to add him to our stream. Hello, Dr. Kesh. How are you?
Amy, I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for that introduction.
Thank you. No, we're very glad to have you here today. We have a great audience so far. Our numbers keep going up, so that's fantastic to see. I am going to turn things over to you now, and feel free to begin your presentation.
Sure, thank you, and welcome everyone to this presentation. And what I'm going to talk about is on big data and business analytics, what you need to know. And what the motivation for this is, if you want to decide on a career, you really need to know what the coursework entails, what kind of jobs you're looking at, and so forth. So those are the kinds of things that we will be talking about today, and your options in terms of your careers in that specific field. And as Amy said, I'm the professor of computer information systems and analytics, and I'm the coordinator for the big data business analytics and computer information systems program at the University of Central Missouri, which is in Warrensburg, Missouri. Smack in the middle of USA. And our closest big city is Kansas City, which is about 65 miles west of us. Now, I will talk a little bit more about the university once we are done with the area, talking about the area itself and and what this career entails. And feel free to ask questions. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions during or after the presentation, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. Okay. So big data, business analytics, these have become buzzwords, obviously, and but they're not just buzzwords. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. So the field is not just a buzzword. Why is it important? Why is it like this? Tremendous growth in the field expected, and that tremendous growth, by tremendous growth, I mean you are looking at double-digit growth expected year after year, which is somewhat unusual for most fields, but this is a field that where that is happening. So that's one of the reasons, obviously, why you would like to have it as a career. Paucity of qualified personnel. The field is relatively, I wouldn't say new, but the growth is very new. And that is why we don't have qualified people who can actually go ahead and do the tasks needed for this. And this has become of strategic importance to organizations. And as you know, that unless there is a true business need at any point in time, a technology might be there and then it would not really make it to the market or be successful unless it does something for the organizations, and the organizational support is over there. Just I'll give you a personal experience. So 30 years back, I did my PhD, and my PhD dissertation was on deep learning in finance. When I got out and I was looking for a professor's job, I found it difficult because people did not think that the field itself on deep learning and on AI would has any real strategic importance to organizations. So I kind of changed areas and started teaching data communications, computer security, and all. And then a couple of years back, hey, this became the hottest field, and I came back to that, and that was almost like homecoming to me. So strategic importance to organizations is very important, and then this field has now become very, very, very important for organizations, not only for their daily operations, but also how they strategically place themselves in the competitive marketplace. And it does not matter how big you are, you have to compete in order to survive, and you know that. Okay, so that's the reason why, or those are the reasons why the field is growing, and we are seeing this growth, of course. Now, if you take two of those things, one is tremendous growth, excuse me, growth in the field, and the second one, which is the paucity of qualified personnel, it means something to everyone. You know the basic supply demand equation. You have high demand and then low supply, which means price, which is your salary, goes up. So that's another reason why you might want to consider this field. Excuse me. Now,
Dr. Kesh, just one quick point. Wondering if we could go a little bigger on the screen and go presentation mode, just so everyone at home can see it.
let me see. On the view, probably.
Slideshow?
Yeah.
Or right down at the bottom, there's a little button right to the left of your Zoom panel.
Oh, this one here. No.
Over, further to the right. No, if you go back to slideshow, let's try that instead.
Yeah, okay. Just a second.
Yeah,
Oh, it's shared. Oh, here it is. And then slide master.
Slideshow right at the top. Right to the right of animations.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There you go. And then from current slide, second from the left.
Yeah, okay. We can do that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay. Excuse me. So then why the growth? Growth in volume, velocity, and variety of data. Why is that important? You know, you hear about big data and analytics and AI and all of that kind of together. And many of you probably know that the definition of big data is the having high volume, high velocity, and high variety of data. What that means is, by volume, we mean the amount of data, and the amount of data that we are storing these days. I mean, it is just mind boggling. Terabytes after terabytes after terabytes of data is being stored. The velocity is the rate at which the data is coming in, and it's growing every day. And so, for example, you're charging your credit card somewhere, that data is being stored. You're purchasing something, all of that information is being stored. You're ordering something from Amazon.com, that data is being stored. It's online. Everything is going online. In fact, I couple of weeks back, I visited Iceland, and there, in the 7 days that I was there, I did not need cash even once. Okay, and so all our transactions are getting electronic, and therefore that data is being stored somewhere, right? Then, in terms of the variety of data, the kind of data that we were looking at previously would be like numbers and maybe a name or address or something like that, very structured, right? But then now the data is more unstructured, in the sense that you have this data, which is, for example, it could be a Facebook comment, right? It could be it could be an opinion that you have shared on a particular product, and so on. It could be voice, it could be video, and things like that. That's the variety of data that we are looking at now, and we want to process that data. So big data involves all of this, which is your volume, the velocity, and the variety of data. As these data items came into vogue, we needed tools that could actually handle that kind of data. So previous database tools did not really know, or was not equipped to handle all that kind of data. And so we could not process that data. So even though we had some of those tools with which we could process the data, if we didn't know how to retrieve the data, we couldn't process it. So now we have those kinds of tools. Okay. Then you have all of those developmental tools for predicting what is going to happen. Are you going to buy a certain product? Are you the kind of person who would like something like this? And all of that. And that has come from this predictive analytics, and then machine learning, and then the deep learning, right? And so all of this is in fact applied in a diverse range of fields, like in business and in engineering. And so those applications are just exponentially growing these days. Okay. And let me do this. Yeah, some of my keys actually were not. Okay, here. So in terms of applications, and I have given, there are like applications in many other fields. So I have given just examples over here. So marketing, you want to find out what you buy. So like consumer choice, finding new customers and all of that. In medicine, by evidence-based medicine, I mean, what kind of things actually work for which individual. And so we want to come up with that kind of evidence-based medicine, but also maybe more individualized. So you could do a patient profile analysis and say, this patient is more prone to this kind of a problem, and so we can take proactive measures to stop something like that, which is hugely beneficial to the patient, to the medical providers, and of course it reduces costs of treatment. So medicine is an example of that. Then you have logistics and supply chain. So you are hearing about all those automated vehicles and so on. all of them depend on some sort of learning about what it is. So they need to learn about, is there a car out there? How do I maintain the distance? What does this traffic sign mean? And all of that. So that's some of the things that we see applications on. And these are just a few things. Everything else, is there are many others. Automated pilot systems. So, for example, I was reading one of the airlines now is considering for long haul routes just having a pilot and not having a pilot and a co-pilot with it, because so much of the stuff is automated now that one pilot should be enough to fly the plane. I mean, you'll have another pilot in the plane itself, but you don't need two pairs of pilots in the for long haul routes and all of that. So those are examples of applications, and you will see, because of that, you are now seeing it in every domain that you can think of. Finance, in terms of investment, you're seeing its examples in criminal justice, you're seeing it in all those different areas, and all of this is being applied, right? And then so the question is, what should be taught, and why do you need to know what should be taught? The reason is, this is the kind of thing that you are looking for when you are looking at a university. Do they offer these kinds of things? What is missing from their program, and so on? How did we come up with this? What should be taught? What we did, when we were developing our program at University of Central Missouri on big data, business analytics, and IT, we said, hey, let's look at what others are doing. So we looked at a ranking of top 50 business analytics programs in the US, and we came up with the themes of what they were teaching, and so that we could develop a program that is current, we could add to it, and we wanted to make sure that we were comprehensive enough in order to cover all the domains that is needed. Okay, so one thing that we learned, of course, is that the field is eclectic. By that we mean that the field actually is made up of many diverse kind of subfields. So it is not just one focused area that you learn about. You have to learn about multiple things, and you should be able to combine those multiple fields to be able to make a career here. And I'll give you those choices, at least the primary choices that you can have if you want to make a career out of it. Okay. We talked about the fact that it is relatively new and growing. So none of the individual components maybe are that new. Like I said, that I did my PhD 30 years back, and some of these tools were there, but they never saw an application at that time, at least in an industrial sense, in a big sense, and so it never became popular. Okay, and then you have the confluence of multiple disciplines. So we will talk about the disciplines, and we will talk a little bit about how those disciplines come together to make up this field. Okay. Okay. So what is the field made of? Here are the three things that we kind of came up with. One was the big data skills and the knowledge. The other is the predictive analytics, machine learning, and AI skills and knowledge. And the other is the domain knowledge. Now, by big data skills and knowledge.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Try tapping above to edit.
So, for big data skills and knowledge, we talked about the fact that the big data, we are storing the data, and the data is coming in at a very high rate. So someone needs to be a specialist in terms of how that data is stored, the security issues with that data, how that data is retrieved so that we can use it, and all of that. And previously, we had databases, they could handle large databases, but now two things have become different, which is, remember, the velocity with which the data is coming in, and also the huge amount of data that is there. And of course, to add to that is the variety of data. So someone needs to be able to have that big data skills and knowledge. And then you can have your predictive analytics, which could mean statistical techniques. Some of you might have heard of regression and things like that. So using something like that, but also using some very advanced statistical techniques. And then you have the newer artificial intelligence skills and knowledge. So for example, that self-driving car trying to learn on its own in terms of what the road sign means, what the speed limit means, and all of that. Those are all part of your AI skills and knowledge. And then you have domain knowledge. And by domain knowledge, I mean you knowing about a specific area. So, for example, if you're using AI to finance, for example, then that's the finance is your domain knowledge. If you're using AI and predictive analytics for marketing a product, marketing is your domain knowledge. Now, obviously, if you look at the intersection over here, you will see that there's a place where all three things, the domain knowledge, the predictive analytics, machine learning, AI, and all of that, big data skills and knowledge, all of them converge at a central location. And so that's what this field is, having all of that together. However, you may, as far as you are concerned, you'll not be able to know everything or be a specialist in everything. So you could have, for example, domain knowledge and good AI skills and knowledge and predictive analytics skill, and place yourself in that area. So you could be an expert who uses all these predictive analytics tools to finance. That's a possibility. And you leave the big data kind of things to someone else. Remember, you'll be working in a team. You'll not know everything about it. Okay. They have the Euro, and then the soccer tournaments going on right now, and in each soccer team, not everyone is going to do everything. There's a special place for everyone and a special role for everyone over there, and so you need to find out what your role is going to be in that. Okay, so you have your domain knowledge. Now you could become like, use big data skills and knowledge, and then have a specific domain knowledge like finance or the insurance industry and so on, and specialize in that. You could also be more on the far more technical side and know both about the big data skills and knowledge and predictive analytics, and you may be slightly weaker on your domain knowledge, but depends on what you want to do. You have to decide, excuse me, how you place yourself. Okay. So, for example, we have some accountancy students many accountancy students who take our big data business analytics minor, so they know something about the predictive analytics, machine learning, and their domain knowledge is accountancy. And they have become, highly marketable because of that, because accountancy is using a lot of that. And so we have those kinds of things over there, and that's how they are going to place themselves. We have a lot of students where they know a lot of big data skills and knowledge, and predictive are very heavy on that. And then they get some domain knowledge, because our undergrad students in particular will have to take business courses because we are in the business school. So they kind of are uniquely prepared to be in that middle in which they go out and know all of this. Okay. So when we looked at that, and you need to look at this also, where is the program located? Okay, many of these programs are that we had, most of them were in the College of Business, and you can see why that is the case. Because if I go back to the, like in the previous slide we had, uh, you have to have your big data knowledge, you have to have your predictive analytics and AI knowledge, and you're looking at all of those domain knowledge. And the domain really comes in the College of Business. That's where the maximum applications are. Now, if you want to be more algorithm oriented and you want to develop newer programs, you want to come up with a new technology for big data, something like that, then you would be in the Department of Computer Science, which is the second most popular location of the programs. So when you're applying somewhere, you have to look at all of this. Some were in engineering and statistics department, and some were collaborative programs between all of these. So look at where the program is located, because where the program is located is the one that is going to give you a certain flavor of the program. And is that something that you want to do? You want to be more applied in nature, you want to go to the College of Business. You want to be more theoretical in nature, you want to be in computer science. You want to be more of the application to engineering or something like that, you might want to go to an engineering school and see if they offer one or two courses in big data and so on. Or you want to do everything, hey, you can go into some of those collaborative programs. Okay, so that's how the program location affects where you apply and what you want to do. Okay, now when we looked at all of this, what are these people teaching? And then you need to look at that. So the one thing, those were the kind of themes that were there. So one is business decision making. Okay, we talked about the fact that many of these technologies and tools are actually being applied to business. Okay, you have information systems technology, so that could be programming. I'll go into a little bit more details about those. You have big data tools and technologies, what is being taught there, predictive analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the other skills. So those are kind of the differences or different themes that are out there for your programs. And so if you are looking at a program, you would like to look at a program and its coursework where most of those themes are actually covered, because that is what is going to make you marketable in the future, both whether you want to pursue higher studies or you are looking out for a job in the job market. All of these become very important. Okay, so for business decision making, you would like to have a program that covers something like project management, something on supply chain management, strategy, marketing management, so including customer relationship management and things like that. So you have all those business areas, economic analysis. In fact, some of the tools like the statistical tools and so on have do come from economic analysis and so on. So you have management strategy, economic analysis, marketing management, project management, supply chain. These are some of the business decision making courses that we found in most of the top programs. I did not put finance over there because it was not specifically mentioned, but then that's an area. So accountancy and finance would be the other area that has some heavy duty applications of big data and business analytics. Okay. Then You're looking at information systems technologies. So that provides you with the foundation. Obviously, how you manage the data, the database management system becomes important. Advanced database that teaches you how to do or handle big data, how to retrieve information, anything that teaches programming languages. Now, you don't, Python and R were the most common programming languages, of which what I'm seeing now is Python is becoming the de facto language for this. And so you would like to learn about it. Now, like in our program, we give you a very good background in programming, but we also use Java. So you have that. And then, like in the deep learning and all of those courses, you just pick up Python because you already have a very serious background in programming itself. So any programming language, if you do an in-depth programming language, then that would help. Data communications, somewhat important, but if you want to know about data communications, most of that should be based on cloud computing and things like that. So, for example, we have courses in AWS, we have courses in Microsoft Azure and cloud computing and all of that. Okay, systems analysis and design, data structures. You would need more of data structures if you are going a little bit more into the computer science side rather than that. If you want to come up with new algorithms, you will need to come up with or have some knowledge in computational mathematics. So, for example, things like set theory and those kinds of things would probably be helpful to you. Okay. Here are some big data tools and technologies that people you would be looking for. Do you teach something like this? You should ask that question. So Hadoop, Apache Spark, two of the major ones. You should know, you should have. Then the others, if they have, that's great. So Hive, Pig, MongoDB, Cassandra, Kafka, various no SQL databases. SQL was the older technology, and then as data variety started growing, then the SQL did not work very well with that, and so you have the NoSQL databases and so on. But you should definitely look for Hadoop. You should definitely look for Apache Spark, and so etc. Okay. Now, the other thing that you want to know is, do they teach predictive analytics? Statistics, of course, includes exploratory data analysis, and it could come in many different things: data visualization, clustering, unsupervised learning, and on some of the classification methods. If you don't know what these are, and you're not expected to know this, but you can see what data visualization is. You plot graphs and things like that. So you come up with, now you see many of the COVID data where you see a curve that says, hey, it peaked in March or something and is now going down by this much and so on. And you plot that data so that you can see it. You have bar graphs, you have pie charts and all of that. And then you have many other advanced data visualization techniques. So that's what this is. Exploratory data analysis is, how does the data look like? Do you think people are lying or something like that? Or is everything good? So that's your exploratory data analysis. You can have clustering, unsupervised learning. We'll talk about, you'll learn about that later on. Clustering is grouping, classification, clustering. All of these are different types of ways in which you group people and say this group of people would most likely do this. Okay. So that's your predictive analytics and statistics. You have some on machine deep learning and AI. So data mining, you want to find out what the data patterns look like. You have AI concepts, so and machine learning. They're kind of together, though not all. AI is a broad term. Not all AI systems learn. Some appear to be intelligent, but they don't learn. Deep learning means you learn step by step. You learn a little bit and you say, oh, these things don't work that way. I need to learn a little bit more. And you learn a little bit more and you become better at it. and you go out doing that. This is something that we do when we read books sometimes or preparing for an exam. First brush, hey, what is this chapter all about? Hey, you're not an expert on that. Second time, you actually have read the chapter. Third time, you have mastered. You now know what the questions are. You have gone back. You have clarified your doubts. That's what deep learning is. You take a step-by-step approach into all of these. So don't worry about if you don't know the terms neural networks, Bayesian statistics. Those are the tools that I am mentioning. And again, when you're selecting something where you want to study, go for a job, you want to ask them, do you apply these? How do you help? And so on. And all of this is applied. Computer vision, your handwriting, identification, voice identification, natural language processing, all of these things, the AI, the machine learning, the deep learning, all of those are applied. Okay. Other skills. Don't ever neglect something like this, your personal skills. Remember, I gave a soccer analogy. You will never be working alone. You will not be able to do that. And so you should be able to work with other people. As you go up the ladder, corporate ladder, it'll become even more important to deal with clients, to deal with other employees, and things like that. Research skills, we don't know everything. New things are coming up every day. It's a very, very dynamic field. So how do you find information? And how do you analyze that information would be interesting. You will get some of the statistical skills, and so that would be helpful over there. Math skills, you don't have to be a math genius to be in this area. Fundamental mathematical skills are needed for statistics, a little bit like matrix theory and so on. But if you want to go gung-ho on the computer science side, then you should have some serious math skills and you should like it. And if you do that, that's probably an area that you want to focus more on. Okay. Now, so to conclude, you saw that in those three circles that you could be either a domain expert, you could be a big data engineer kind of thing, you could be in predictive analytics and AI, or you could be some little bit and in a combined area or combine two of them. So you kind of want to decide what you want to do. Do I become more of that math-oriented, algorithm-oriented person, or am I going to be more in the business school applied side? So you need to decide what you want to do in the technology business spectrum. Well, what am I interested in? What am I good at? Those kinds of things. What do I want to develop? And then you should select your coursework based on your interest. And we do at the University of Central Missouri, we do have a BSMS, both undergraduate, graduate program in big data, business analytics, and IT. The program is offered by Computer Information Systems. It is in the College of Business, so we are very applied. The program, the CIS program, was ranked #1 in terms of value in the state of Missouri by collegefactuals.com, and it was ranked 17th in the nation. And that program is accredited by ABET and AACSB both. So that is only 1 out of 13 programs in the nation like that. And of course, the BSMS in big data is very new, but it is all accredited by AACSB, which is an organization, international organization that accredits College of Business programs. So if you graduate from our program and you want to do higher studies somewhere else, like you want to go for a PhD somewhere else, you would have no issues there. The job placement has been out and outstanding for these students. They have done very, very well. You would probably look at a starting salary in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. People who are coming in with experience, so for example, they come in with 4 years of experience and have done an MS in big data business analytics. They are in the 90s range, some of them, and then the salaries are going up to like 100, 150K pretty easily. I would not guarantee anything. I never do, because everything is market based, but the market looks awesome right now. And they really want people who have these skills, both as a big data engineer and or as a person who is in analytics, in deep learning, in machine learning, and those kinds of things. Okay. Um, Future looks bright, looks good. And there's my contact information. Please email me if you're interested in any of these programs. And please give me 24 hours to reply. Not that you're not important, you are. But sometimes I do get a lot of emails, so it might take a little while, which is about 24 hours to reply to you. But I will definitely reply. Now, you may be interested in our program. You may have other questions about your career in general. Feel free to get in touch with me, and I will be happy to discuss it with you or email you back and let you know about it. Okay. Amy, it's all yours.
Wonderful, Dr. Kesh. Thank you so much. I just learned so much in the last 40 minutes. That was truly fascinating information. Appreciate you offering for folks to contact you if they have any questions.
Sure.
Of course, if this was everything they needed to learn, they're ready to apply to the University of Central Missouri. We encourage you to check out the ApplyBoard platform. All of the details are in there as well. So if you have content-specific questions, then Dr. Kesh is that's contact. But if you're ready to apply, if you're gung-ho and this is the career path for you or your students, then absolutely check out the ApplyBoard platform. So just wanted to phrase that for everyone. So thank you, Dr. Kesh. Again, learned so much in that presentation. I've heard I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or what, but I've heard this story for many years. And it is that a young woman who had purchased a number of products and started receiving coupons intended for a pregnant woman and didn't know she was pregnant. Turns out she was, because the stores just knew.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate? Is that something that deep learning and AI can tell us about consumers in that marketing side of things?
Yes. So we have a few more minutes, right? Let me tell you a story then. Yeah, we do. So here's one research that I did, and that is on context-aware marketing. What that is when you buy something, it's not just you, but your context that is purchasing it. For example, when someone goes to a shopping mall, their purchasing behavior is very different if they're on their own or if they're with their family, for example, husband, boyfriend, wife, girlfriend, or kids, and so on. So what these people do is they look at your context and give you coupons based on that. And how do they know what your context is? Like, who is with you? Typically, we have family plans for our mobile phones. And if those phones, because of their GPS location being turned on, most of us do, is within a certain range, like 10 feet, 15 feet, whatever it might be, they know that you're all together shopping together, and this is what your purchasing behavior is going to be, and give you coupons based on that. And they have found that those coupons have a much higher rate of utilization than if they did not know that information. So to tell you, yes, they do have a lot of information that you think that you did not. So if you have been flagged, like, even though you've gone to a doctor's place and there's the insurance industry and so on, as long as they can maintain your privacy and do not give it to someone else, they should be okay. Of course, in this case, I don't know how they got that information, because the doctors have to be very careful about HIPAA violation and all of those kinds of things. And we at Central Missouri actually teach you about the legal aspects of all of this, because when you work, you have to make sure, you don't have to be a lawyer, but you must have that sense that, hey, what I'm being asked to do, is that legal? And you might want to know about that. So to answer your question, Amy, yes, have a lot of information, but you also should have that sense or a coursework or something to know whether it is legal or not legal. In our MS program, we have a course, legal issues in information systems, and so that covers all the big data issues as well, and that's kind of fun to know. And
that's incredible. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad that that wasn't a wives' tale. That does make sense. I didn't realize it was kind of that level of tracking with family plans. That's fascinating. I'm a marketing geek, so that is absolutely fascinating information, and exciting too that you shared that AI and deep learning really is a cross-functional field. You can be in marketing, you can be in finance, you can be in computer science. It doesn't really matter where you're sitting. That's relevant for everyone. So that's fantastic. My next question for you is really on the future of the field and AI and deep learning and where you see it going in the future. I know you say it's heavy growth. So if you could speak more to that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we are looking, I think, and you know the story, right? That if you have taught for 10 years, you're not allowed to be a witness because you have lied so much to your students that they are no longer trusted. So, but I will still, as a professor, try to come up with numbers and claim I'm not lying. But then I think you're looking at probably 10-12% year after year for some time, at least for now. And so this is an excellent time to get into this field. It's a growing field. You can get in, you can establish yourself very well in the field. So the AI part that we have, the analytics part that we have, and of course the data engineering part that we have is going to grow a lot. One thing that we are doing, I'll mention a little bit about, we have all of them. I'll also mention about the data engineering part. So what we did currently is we have those the Hadoop and the Spark and all of those tools in data engineering, but we have added any data communications, we have added cloud computing, because everything, all that data that you're going to analyze will be sitting in a cloud somewhere, and you need to know how to work with it. So that's one growing area, the big data engineering. And then the deep learning, the machine learning, I think would be another hugely big area because of things that are being, simply because things that are being automated.
That's great. Thank you. And I know you had mentioned Hadoop before, and you mentioned it again now. I know it's probably a very complex system, but can you speak a bit to how that works and how you can take data and start to feed it in and what it looks for? You had mentioned that Facebook comments even are being used for building profiles on people.
Right.
So what do these softwares help to accomplish? What is kind of that process that they would use? Okay. High level.
So yeah, so let's take an example of recognizing handwriting. 0 through 9. How many ways can we write all of that? I mean, not all of us write 0, even 0, all of us write in the same way. Some of us close the loop, some of us don't, and so on. So what the way it works, first of all, you need data. Okay, so they have samples, thousands and thousands of samples of 0, 1, 2, and so forth, handwriting. Okay, then what they do is they kind of train the system with some of that data. So the system says, hey, this is a 0. And you say, no, that was not a 0, that was a 6. And so on. So you give correct answers to the system, and the system keeps on changing its parameters till it is highly accurate, and you have to decide what highly accurate means. Once that happens, you say, the system knows how to recognize 0, and you go on like that. The system can recognize everything from 0 to 9. Okay, so first of all, you have your data, and anything that you're doing is actually being stored somewhere. Someone is buying that data or has access to that data. Step number one. Step number two, someone actually has the tools and technologies to extract that data and give it to you. And then step number three is you have these deep learning and these machine learning tools, software that look at that data and train a system to do a specific task. For example, in this case, being able to recognize handwriting. Okay. Does that kind of answer your question? Does that?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I'm going to keep asking questions because I don't see any in the chat, but I have lots. So that that definitely did. Thank you. Speaking to that, though, I did hear recently, again, correct me if this is false information, definitely curious your opinion on it. But when you are trying to authenticate through Google, it will show you the pictures of the stop signs and ask you to identify which ones are stop signs to prove that you're a human. I've heard that this is Google using this data to inform their autonomous vehicle planning of what a stop sign looks like. So they have more and more data points to help influence that programming. Is that accurate? Is that something that systems would be trying to use to help build that knowledge?
Oh, that's possible, but I don't know whether they're doing it. So I don't know about that project, but it is possible in order to see, whether people actually recognize it or they do not recognize it. So the possibility of that use is there. Whether they're actually doing it or not, I don't know.
Gotcha. All right. No, that's perfect. I thought it was fascinating whether or not that's accurate or not. It's such a growth field, like you say, right? There's lots going on. I'm sure there's things happening that we never even hear about. So that's great.
In fact, when I wake up, the first thing that I do is I read and program for some time before I start my day, because this thing, otherwise I can't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it's fascinating, it's interesting. So I do that research and all those things early in the morning. That way I have done that till otherwise I get caught up in like administrative work and other things that needs to be done. But this field, if you want to keep on teaching in the field, you have to keep up every day. But it's amazing. It's an amazing field. But I'll tell you also that we are, I am concerned, and we are looking at loss of privacy for sure. I don't think we have as much privacy as we had before.
Well, that was one of my questions for you too, and I feel like I do ask this in a lot of our Careers of Tomorrow workshops, but with very technology focused fields and future understanding people fields, right? And that data ethics is huge, and that's good to hear that there's thought being put into that. I'm sure we can always do better, but I'm glad you mentioned that because that is definitely an important part of it.
I don't know if you have seen have you seen the CLEAR system at airports?
CLEAR system? I don't think so.
Yeah,
no.
So you can subscribe, and I'm not a member of that. I have my own like the security clearances and all that. But what the CLEAR system they're experimenting with now is when you walk in, you look at the camera, and they, based on your recognizing you from your retina, you no longer would need to show. This is the ultimate goal. Let's say you're traveling internationally. You don't have to show your passport information, your boarding card, nothing. You simply walk in and you go and take a seat because every piece of information is already stored. They know which flight you're on. They know which where your seat is, where you're flying to, what have you cleared all the immigration things and everything.
Wow, that's a little scary, but
Yes, it is.
fascinating.
So what happened to me was, I have the TSA, the clearance and legal entry. So I when I flew back from China, I went to the global entry kiosk, and you have to put the four fingers for identification. Once I did that, it said you arrived in this flight, you arrived at this time, and such and such. Is it correct? You say yes, and you simply walk out.
Wow.
And because they have everything that they need to know about you.
But that's the future, right? That we don't need to have the documents. Everything's built into our biometrics, and they can have that data. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
So yeah, and privacy concerns have been raised already,
Of
but
course.
I think eventually it's going. I mean, we are going ahead, and we are going to do that anyway.
Wow. Well, Dr. Kesh, we only have about 4 minutes left for our hour. So I want to have a few moments for closing remarks and share details of our upcoming workshop. But first, I want to turn the floor to you. Do you have any closing remarks for our viewers here today? Anything you'd like them to keep in mind? A pitch for University of Central Missouri? Floor is yours.
And so, yeah, as far as the University of Central Missouri is concerned, it's in Warrensburg, Missouri, which is about 65 miles, as I said, from Kansas City, and wonderful university town. If you come in, however, all of our programs, including the bachelor's and the master's, is offered in a facility. It's a wonderful place in Lee Summit, which is kind of midway between Kansas City and Warrensburg. One thing about Central Missouri is, obviously, I mentioned about the quality and the rankings and all of that. It is an relatively inexpensive program. So if you look up tuition rate, please go online. There's a cost calculator, cost of attending UCM. If you look at that, you will find that the costs are pretty low. And given the fact that once you graduate, some of them actually go into PhDs and all that from an MS program, but you also get outstanding jobs. So we have students who are now working for Tesla, who are now working for Apple, and all of the big companies, you name it. And we have students over there in big data engineering and in analytics and deep learning. This would be an excellent place to consider. So apply. I can, the coordinator, I will, if you have any questions about the program, I will forward it to Dr. Ramanujan, who is the coordinator for the grad programs. And if it's an undergrad program application, I will reply directly to you. And it has, I think we have an excellent program. You can look it up. You can see about the department. Professors are, you don't really have to set up appointments with professors. You can walk in anytime. You want to set up a Zoom meeting with them, they'll do that with you. We believe in one-on-one interaction with the students. We believe that, we believe in teaching. We do a lot of research, but we do a lot of research with our students as well. And many of our students have actually published papers before they have graduated. So you get an opportunity. It's a very hands-on program. It is an applied program, but you will get all the theoretical foundation that you need to get into the good corporations and all of that, just like Tesla is, or the other companies are. So good program to be in. This is it's a growth area, again, as I said before. Any questions, let me know. Please feel free to email me. I'll be very, very happy to reply to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kesh. Again, really appreciate your time today and hearing all about deep learning and AI. like I've said many times, I learned a lot. I found it a fascinating subject and workshop today. So I hope everyone at home felt the same way. I have no doubt that they did. Before we wrap up our stream today, I want to bring your attention to our next workshop. So next week, same time, same place, we will be bringing you our final Careers of Tomorrow live workshop featuring blockchain, decentralizing the future. And for this workshop, this will be presented by Kate Butler, who is a blockchain consultant and professor with George Brown College in Canada. So we hope everyone will see us again next week. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out when we go live, and you make sure you get those notifications. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Dr. Kesh, again, thank you so much. And everyone at home, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Amy, for having me. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.